The words you hear are from streams of consciousness arising from historical happenings in Norway, when an entire village was destroyed just after World War II. Survivors of the war were killed at home from natural disaster. Spoiler: the waterfall you will hear and see is the force of which the rocks came down and destroyed the entire village and school. A grandmother and 2 grandchildren running after the goats on the cliffs were the only survivors.
The rocks have escaped the mountain tops and have eaten up the village, eaten up the clouds.
I see from the windows all the men and boys who lied about their age leaving. My son snoring softly in the bed beside yours.
The rocks have escaped the mountain tops and have eaten up the village, eaten up the clouds. Cloud pouring out the smothered dreams of school children playing tag in the playground. The rocks have spat out
The ocean waves, sea salt air. Taste it on the lamb you feast on. Last supper, kiss me goodbye, kiss me awake.
The forest is where I lay my head beside you. The moss on the ground is thick, and the air is...
A grandmother and her 2 grandchildren, too busy distracted by the goats and their kids. And beneath them, I'm lying, feeling so ill. Outside, my hands are clapping. I lie in the forest behind me. The forest is where I lie my head. And beside me, my son. And behind me, the sun, rising, pouring the lights all over his father's face.
And the beads of sweat on their foreheads in the trenches, leaving behind families and friends and lovers still. In the villages on the hillside, I see
leaving
my home
behind
still.
families and friends
Quiet,
and lovers,
basking in all
lovers
of this
still.
light.
In the villages on the hillside, I see my home still. Quiet, basking in all of this light. Ground shaking. All the bodies could have been hanging from the tree branches. Branched tree. Climbing trees. Men come back, they come back from the war to end all wars. And their town is gone.
My son.
No home,
And
the
behind
trees
me,
are broken
the
and
sun,
so are their brains.
rising, pouring the lights all over his
forest is
father's
where I lay
face.
my head beside my
He's
son.
home.
His head is
He's
cold.
home.
The bodies could have been
Cheeks
hanging
blue.
from the tree branches.
I feel it
Branched
too.
tree, climbing trees.
in the forest.
Men came back.
The forest
came
behind
back
me. The
From
forest is
wars
where I
and
lay my head.
wars, and their
And beside me,
town
my
is
son.
gone.
And behind me, the sun, rising, pouring the light all over his father's face. He's home. He's home.
And behind me the sun, rising, pouring the light all over his father's face. Because he's home. Stories about how Norwegian men treated young women survivors who were forced by Nazi officers to reproduce with them, ordered by Himmler, prompted me to make this piece, filmed on site. These young Norwegian women were deprived of their civil rights, detained or expelled to Germany with their children. It was only recently, 18th of October 2018, that Norway's PM Erna Solberg issued an official government apology at the 70th anniversary of the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The footage for this film, filmed on my phone, filmed in memory of these women, was filmed in August 2018.
The forest is where she lays her tiredness down beside me. The floor of joy is marked with the beads of sweat that roll down her chest between her breasts. Her heart beats and is awake to a journey.
And I was upstairs when the door opened. And outside the windows there were these trees. You know, their branches were really thick with snow. And I'm thinking back to the walk when the pin was still lodged deep, keeping my heart together. And I was upstairs when the door opened. And I was still upstairs, and outside the windows there were these trees. You know, their branches were really thick with snow. And I'm thinking back to the walk, and I'm thinking back to the still lodged deep, keeping my heart together. The pin was still lodged deep, keeping my heart together. Upstairs when the door opened, now in the dark, I pick up my feet to walk on in the forest, and I was still upstairs. Do you remember you were about to tell me things, but you'd forgotten? I'm still upstairs and thinking back, and I know that they've taken your life when the pin was still lodged deep, keeping my heart together. And in the dark I can see the branches outside, covered in snow. And they've left the books out. Upstairs when the door opened, now in the dark, I pick up my feet to walk on in the forest. Do we remember how we met? Do you remember you were about to tell me things, but you'd forgotten? Both of us in the dark. I'm still upstairs and they're downstairs, and I know that they've taken your life and let the books out. And in the dark I can see the branches outside, the branches covered in snow. And they've left the books out. Remember how we met? Both of us in the dark, and I'm resisting to feel anything. Both of us in the dark, feeling only the wall behind me and you against it. I'm feeling your heart beating hard against my heart. And as I walk on with my feet plunging into the earth, I'm feeling your heart beating hard against my heart. And as I walk on with my feet plunging into the earth, and both of us see each other clearly in the dark. My rosy cheeks are far, far ahead. My rosy cheeks are far, far from you. Trees and their branches thick with snow. And I'm noticing the branches outside the window now. The branches thick with snow. And I was upstairs when the door opened, and I'm resisting to feel anything. They've taken your life.
Her heart beats and is awake to a journey. The pearl slides down the skin over my bone. The forest is where she lays her tiredness down beside me. The floor of joy is marked with the beads of sweat that roll down her chest between her breasts. Her heart beats and is awake to a journey. The pearl slides down the skin over my bone. The forest is where she lays her tiredness down beside me. The floor of joy is marked with the beads of sweat. She's still gifting her in ways I will never know. I am locked out from one frazzled too. The voice speaks through me every time she holds over the waves that grow high up. Trees in high up sky, the lonely wondering how we're too far away to be where we were meant to be.
I am folding paper now, writing secrets in centerfolds. The edges are not crisp, instead they are soft and half-bitten. The jewels in the jewel sea, the blue my feet, the red up high, beating blood around my body, about warm as warm. Who birth their babies who are growing older, like a strip of paper, a note written on crumpled paper, a strip of words because
they have got so much left to say, but are gagged and silenced and marginalized. A boat out on the water, her sails made from women's wedding dresses. The curtains of our rooms pave out a story, a map of love like sealed envelopes. Old age,
it centers us. Falls out from underneath us, old age, it centers us. Walk over rocks and sea in the darkest night.
Walk over rocks and sea in the darkest night, where we lay out all of our dreams.
In the darkest sky, where all the women wonder why. In the lit up sky covered in stars. In the starry night, women cry.